I don't know what happened, you guys. I got caught off. Anyways, I guess this is part 2. So, anyways, the first time that I came out, to my parents and shit, I was like, I didn't know how the fuck to come out, but I knew I had to tell them because I was never the type to, like, really give a fuck what anybody had to say, period. So I was like, anda pa'l diablo. I'm like, how am I gonna tell my parents? And for those who know, I'm Dominican, 100%. So for those who know and come from a Dominican background, that shit is not accepted. It's just not. It's not accepted. It's not right. Especially them old school parents que no, o sea, que ellos te crían a ti with expectance of you to marry some dude. Y especialmente if you have kids. If you have kids, it makes it even harder for you to freaking be gay and be open with your parents because they're like, bueno, tú te pusiste a tener muchacho, you gotta be with him, with the baby daddy, because that's just the right thing to do. So they try to like drain your brain and make you think that, you know, that's what you have to do, which is fucking bullshit, okay? There's a way out of everything. So the first time I came out to my parents, I was like 14. Yeah, at that time, that was when MySpace was hot. You know, so I was like a fucking fiend on MySpace. And then that's when I started getting like on little chats and shit. Y hablando con 2 o 3 jevitas y vaina, you know, tirando lengua a 2 manos. And I'm like, coño, déjame, you know. And then that's when I had my first little like gay girlfriend, whatever. And, una puertorriqueña, una maldita loca el diablo ahí. Pues sí. Y ¿cómo se llama? So at that time, I was like, you know, I'm going to come out to my mom. And she's like, yo, are you sure? Because her mom knew, so her mom was all right with it. So I came out, I was like, I took my mom one day in the living room. This is how I came out the first time, okay? I took my mom in the living room, and I was like, mami, mira, le tengo que decir algo. And she's like, oh, dime. Pero it's like inside my gut, I'm like, does this bitch know what I'm talking about? Does she know what I'm approaching her for? And all of a sudden, she's like, yo creo que yo sé lo que tú me vas a decir a mí. My mom's not stupid. She knew that I was on fucking MySpace talking to girls and shit. I don't know how she knew, but I think she knew. So when I told her, I was like, Mommy, I think I like girls. This is what I was referring to you guys on the last video. If you guys are going to come out to your parents, make sure that you tell them that you like girls. Not you think you like girls, that you like girls. Because if you say you think you like girls, they're going to be like, bitch, you confused. Okay? So make sure that you tell them, que ustedes le dicen, mira, mami, you know, I like girls. I like girls, you know. I'm not sure that I'm going to be, you know, a lesbian. I mean, depending on your situation. You know what I'm saying? At the time, since, of course, for my parents, it wasn't right. I was just letting her know. I'm like, hey, mommy, you know, I like girls. And then she's like, so como que se quedó callada. Tú sabes cómo se pone la madre dominicana. They be like on some shit. But my mom was actually, yo sabía eso. Yo estaba esperando que tú me lo dijeras a mí. I'm like, damn. I'm like, am I that noticeable? Like, what the fuck? And I wasn't even open with my mom, so it's not like if she ever saw me checking them out and shit. Pero I told that shit to my mom, and she's like, bueno, I think this is a phase, but, you know, just don't tell nobody in the family. Which I was like, bitch! It was completely bullshit, because by the time me and her finished talking, you know, I told her about my little girlfriend. I was like, hey, mommy, I want you to meet her, blah, 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 blah. I don't know where the fuck I got the balls hurt to tell her that shit from right away, but I did. Pa mantener la vaina clara. So I told her, and I was like, Mommy, no. So, like, she told me not to tell nobody in the family. She said to keep it between us, whatever. I was like, okay, está bien, no. Excuse me. So, of course, that was bullshit. Because by the time I was done talking with her, my brothers were passing by, and she's like, Muchacho, vengan acá que tengo que decirle algo. I'm like, oh my God, is my mama about to tell my brothers about this shit? So she called them. She's like, tell your brothers. I'm like, Mom, I thought you just said to keep it between us. It's fine. It's just the family. I'm like, anda pa'l diablo. So she tells them, and they're, of course, they're not surprised either. So I'm like, oh shit, okay. Bueno, this wasn't that bad at all. So then, like, not even 2 minutes later, my dad passes by, and she's like, Bienbo. My dad's name is Bienvenido, which is the fucking most horrible name I've ever seen in my life. It's bien, for those that you don't know Spanish, bienvenido is welcome. Like, who the fuck names their kid welcome? They're like, welcome, ven acá, welcome. So anyways, she's like, Bienbo, ven acá, Bienbo. Tengo que decirte algo. Oh my gosh. So my dad comes over. She tells my dad. And my dad was like, well, I think it's a phase too. So do what you do. So I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I came out. So my mom's the type that she's one of those Dominicans that does not like Puerto Ricans. Okay, I'm sorry to break it down to you. I'm not trying to offend nobody that's Puerto Rican. My fiancés have Puerto Rican. You know, I don't have nothing against Puerto Ricans. I make fun of you motherfuckers a lot. I do. Guilty. But, you know, I'm cool with a lot of Puerto Ricans. I have no person. Just don't talk to me in Spanish, please. Anyways. So, love you, baby. My daughter's over here listening in and shit. So, I guess she didn't like my girlfriend when I introduced her, whatever. So she let me like bring my girlfriend to meet her, whatever, at the time. Una noviecita, I'm telling you, this little Puerto Rican hot mess that I had. And she, you know, my mom no estaba vigilando como una fucking águila. So I guess because my mom didn't like her, my mom was like, no, you're not allowed to date her, whatever. I was like, what the fuck? I thought you said it was fine for me to date her. She's like, no, you're not allowed to date her, whatever. Mi gente, like within 2 months of me, like, no, I dated the girl for like a month. But within a month, my mom was already saying, hey, no, I'm about Miami. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I'm like, why are we moving to Miami? We had like probably like 2 years living in Lawrence, right? Massachusetts. And she's like, oh, no, I'm about Miami. And we were living the life in fucking Lawrence, you know, because my mom was like fucking claiming all the fucking help in the world. So you guys already know how the fuck that is. So, cuando ella... So I knew what the fuck she was doing. She was basically trying to move to prevent me from, like, you know, being in that gay lifestyle. Because after that, I was open to all of my friends, you know, and I was like, fuck it. And, you know, I was more open to the gay world at that time. So, cuando esa vaina pasó, she was like, we're moving to Miami. This bitch ends up moving us to Miami, right? No, we didn't have 2 years. We actually had more than that. ¿Cuánto fue? Ay, no me recuerdo. Anyways, we ended up moving to Miami. And after we moved to Miami, I was like, that was when I got that fear in me. I'm like, fuck, man, she doesn't want me to be gay. So I'm like, anda pa'l diablo. So I just stayed by myself for a while. I was still like being on fucking Mi Gente. Mi Gente? Was it Mi Gente? Oh, right, it was Mi Gente that I was on. MiGente.com, that fucking thing. That was the shit back in the day, man. Before MySpace and before Facebook, it was Mi Gente. You know what I'm talking about. So, then MySpace, I was still on MySpace, you know, flirting with girls and, you know, doing me, tirando piropo a dos manos y vaina, you know. So, at the time, there was this fucking Captain Retardo that fell in love with me for some fucking reason. And I took him in as a project. I was like, mire, esta normal necesita mi ayuda. And I basically transitioned the guy over because he was like on my shit all the time. And, you know, I didn't like him. I knew I wasn't feeling dudes. But when my parents met him, because he was like literally stalking me and shit. He went to my house because he used to play ball with my brothers. He went to my house and fucking went and like poured his heart out to my parents talking about that he wants to be with me. So I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, yo, listen, we could talk, but it's not like that, you know. So anyways, tuve ese noviecito. I was like 17. Yeah, I was like 17 at the time. And I hadn't dated nobody else after that, you know. So, that's when I fucking came to, lo mandé pa'l diablo al tipo, right? So, after that, I was still doing my thing on fucking on MySpace and shit. And then, so I hadn't been, so think about it, you guys. Since from like the age of 14, I was like low-key. I was doing me, talking to, you know, females and shit like that. But I never really came back out to my parents. Because obviously they said they weren't going to tolerate that. And me amenazaron with everything. So once I I came to Orlando on vacation. That's when I met my baby daddy. And, you know, because I don't know if you guys have seen my, like, my Jimba Project video. You know, I was molested as a child, whatnot, whatever. You know, so it was very, very fucking hard for me to come back out again after that. And you guys gotta understand, I come from a fucking household where I was on lockdown 24/7. So it wasn't like I was able to, like, be myself, or, you know, and I was living in a fucking household where I was being, you know, where I had been molested by my father and by my older brother. So I was in my house, you know, fucking living hell. It was terrible. It was fucking torment for me, you know. So when I came to Orlando on vacation to my aunt's house, I call her my aunt. She's not really my aunt, but I call her my aunt because we were like raised together. She, you know, me crié con ella, whatever. Y siempre le llamaba tía. So her son was, you know, he's basically my baby daddy. And, you know, when I came to Orlando, I lost my virginity to him. You know, it was easier for me to make a transition, you know, to allow him in my life because of the fact that I knew him since I was a baby. So, like, I trusted him. And we were, like, best friends at the time. But, honestly, I don't know how the fuck he didn't notice I was gay because I treated him like a straight-up nigga. I'd be like, oh, whatever. So, I was, you know, once my mom found out that I lost my virginity to this nigga, me mandó a buscar from Miami, and she was like, yo, you coming back home? Like, what the fuck? I send you on vacation and you lose your virginity. Well, when she sent me to go back, this nigga was like, no, I don't want to be without you. He's like, come live with me in Orlando. So I'm like, oh shit, this is my fucking way out. Because as I told you, I come from a fucking background where, like, I'm on lockdown 24/7. I can't go out to the corner. I can't work. I couldn't do nothing, you guys. Like, nothing. Nothing. My life revolved around my house, my mom, and school. That's it. You know? And being fucking trapped in a house where I was fucking living with two of my molesters. So, it was like torment because, I mean, to break it down to you guys, my dad... To put it so you guys understand where the fuck I was coming from and why I had to do what I had to do and get out. My dad used to look at me like a piece of meat. Like, he didn't even look at me like I was his daughter. He looked at me like a piece of meat, guys. Like on some sick shit. It wasn't even like, oh, that's my daughter. He looked at me and checked me out on some sick shit. So imagine, I had to live with that every fucking day, you guys. So as soon as this nigga said, yo, come live with me, I couldn't have a job, so it's not like I could be like, oh yeah. And I didn't have friends, so it's not like I could be like, oh yeah, let me count on somebody else to get the fuck out of my house. I didn't have nobody. I preferred not to have friends. Until this day, I prefer not to have no friends because I don't trust nobody. You know? So whenever I left, I ended up, you know, getting pregnant. I was living with him, and how do you call it? I tried to give it a shot, you know, try to see what it was like, you know, being with a dude. And it just wasn't for me. I was not happy. I knew I wasn't happy because fucking women drive me crazy. So, the dude ended up cheating on me, and then that's when I took advantage. And at the time, once I was able to move out here to Orlando, that's when I was able to get my first job. So, of course, already I was thinking with my head, you know, and I with nothing else, ni con mi toto, ni con mi corazón. I was like, let me save money so I can have a backup, you know. So once he cheated on me, I used that as an excuse to get the fuck out. And then we basically had an on and off relationship for a couple of years because of the fact that my family kept trying to convince me that the right thing to do was to be with my kid's father, you know. And I was like, you know, and they will fucking drill that shit in your head, you guys. They'll drill it and drill it. That if you have a kid, of course you got to be with their father. And then you, to please everybody, you're just like, fuck, like, damn, I don't want to be with this nigga. But then, of course, I think about my kids. And at the time, I wasn't really thinking straight. I'm like, yeah, my kids. I was so worried about my kids' lives that I really didn't really consider, like, damn. Why would my kids judge me if I want to be happy? Why would they judge who I'm with if I'm happy and if my, you know, who I'm with treats them right? I didn't think about none of that shit. So, then at the time that he cheated on me, I was like 19. that's when I met my first girlfriend, my first official girlfriend, and then that's when I came back out to my family. Pero at the time that me and him broke up, I went back to live with my parents' house, and then my mom started noticing that I was on fucking MySpace a lot. So she noticed that I was talking to females again. And then she's like, no, no me diga a mí. Like, she flipped. She fucking flipped. Because like I said, you guys, I'd been living low-key with my gay self for fucking years. Just to please my family. And when she found out that I was like fucking talking to women on MySpace again, she fucking flipped. She kicked me out of the house. And it was fucking terrible. Like I told you, I had no friends. Because when I'm in a relationship, the only thing that matters to me is who I'm with. That's it. I don't give a fuck about bitches, sluts, friends, nothing. I don't care about none of that because all of that's irrelevant, So since I didn't have no friends, I didn't have, I was working, but obviously I had bills to pay. And at the time, I had one of them fucking cheapy-chammy jobs that didn't pay shit. So I had nowhere to go. So, of course, baby daddy was like, yo, come back to my house. You could stay here. You don't have to be with me. Which was completely bullshit, and I knew it, but I had nowhere to go. So I went